Okay. That part's working at least. Sarah, speak. Nope, that's not working. Okay. I don't know why this keeps happening. Is it because... Oh, you have to be kidding me. Hold on. Everything's fine. Now speak, Sarah.
Testing. Hello? Can you hear me?
Should be, too.
Do you talk?
What?
There we go. Okay, that's working.
Before her body was here,
At least there's that.
and her body was moving. That doesn't happen all the time, so be grateful. Look, it's Mikey, it's heating. The power couple. Anyways. Okay. I don't remember if you did it last time or if I did it last time. I think you did it first. I feel like
Weekly obsessions?
Yeah. I feel like my weekly obsession is very boring. It's possible it's like 1.5. Because the first part is mainly I have been trying with certain mods and stuff that I've installed and then disabled because I can't have them all on, to theory craft what my build is gonna be in Baldur's Gate 3.
For tomorrow?
Yes. Because initially I was under the impression that, because if I play the druid that I want, the star something druid, that it has like 3 subcategories that I learned are actually just transformations that technically don't count as subcategories because you can transform into them separately.
Okay.
So technically speaking, I'm kind of realizing that this is like a jack of all trades druid build, I guess, because each different star constellation transformation adds a different effect. And that, on top of the fact, as I also learned, I'm basically the druid form of a bard, because I kind of have bardic inspiration that comes that I can add to other people and or to my own roles in the form of like cosmic, not cosmic intervention, but like cosmic visions, where I like consult with the stars every long rest, and then I'll have a die I can add to myself or other people's
You're
roles.
reading our horoscopes?
Maybe. But it's also other people. Like, I can either make a check succeed or make a check fail to like other people that are attacking me or something too. I'm supposed to be like some kind of fortune teller, but also I can transform. And I don't know if this was a bug, but at one point in the later levels that I was testing, I could transform in between the different constellation forms for free, like without using up wild shape forms. And I did not think that was possible because I feel like that's really broken if I can, because that changes like whether or not people get extra healing or I can like do extra radiant damage or something. So if that is true, then that'll make it even more powerful later on. But I know that the amount of healing and or damage gets upped later on in those transformations, and I know that the dragon one, you can fly short distances, but you can fly later on. So that would be nice for at least traversing like hills and stuff. So I originally thought I was gonna be like chokehold into being a healer, but I realize now that I could basically be kind of just jack of all trades, which is nice because it means that I can just turn into something that we need.
Would we have a healer? Like, if I'm gonna be a rogue.
That's the thing. Was rogue the pirate one?
Mm-hmm.
If you're gonna be a rogue, you're more than likely going to be our are a stealthy stealing person. Even though
I mean,
you're
I'll
gonna be
get
a
it.
pirate, and I feel like you're not gonna be very stealthy like at all. So mainly we just need you to like throw a sword or something at a lock to open it. That's like our main goal. Because then I know Faye said that she wanted to try the Warlock one, the Hexblade Warlock. So she would be a main damage dealer. And for Shinny, I don't know if she wanted to be a full-time healer or what she wanted to be, so I was just going to leave that up in the air. And at least if I'm like this, I could be a range of things depending on what we need. And I wouldn't be like locked into one individual thing.
Well, the two options are I either am a swashbuckler rogue or I'm a wild magic sorcerer. So
You really don't want the bees, do you?
I'm playing the beads on my main one.
Wow. Also, SK, your fortune is you're gonna die in 2 days. Just saying.
Wow.
So yeah, that's been the main thing that I've been doing and like testing out things. Also testing different mods, like outfit mods, to see if that's even something we would want to do. I don't know. We'll see. But then also when we played Dead by Daylight this past Friday, it made me want to play Killer more, so I might do that by myself. Because no one else wants to play Dead by Daylight with me.
I'll play it with you, but I'm just not good at it.
Well, then we have to be survivors, which means you have to survive.
Which is even worse. I'm even worse as a survivor.
Because as the killer, I think when I played solo as killer before, just in random online matches, most of the time I could at least get like 2 kills, maybe 3, possibly 4 on average. But 2 was like the medium that I was getting, and I was okay with that because I felt like I was at least doing something. Oh yeah, that was that.
I played Dead by Daylight once by myself, and I played the killer. I was playing Huntress, you know, as I usually do.
As you only play.
Yep, and it was awful. I had an awful time because the people I was playing against just decided to basically swarm me and wouldn't let me do shit.
Isn't that a good thing? You can hit them?
Except it wouldn't. They were. I don't totally know how it was happening because it was also a while ago, so I don't really know. But I know they were just like pushing me away and everything. They were trolling me. It was a full-on. They were trolling me. They were not playing the game correctly.
And you couldn't hit them?
And so, I think I was trying.
Well,
but I like I said, I don't really remember what was going on.
I think that should be one of your solo streams. Playing Huntress and Dead by Daylight offline.
Absolutely not.
I feel like that would be entertaining though. Plus it would be a surefire way to make you at least get better at Huntress.
In theory.
Practice always makes perfect.
My widow skills beg to differ.
Okay, well I wouldn't call that practicing. That's more like flailing. But regardless, that was the other thing. I played a bit of Rivals today. And Overwatch. I played Overwatch. I played 1 game of Mystery Heroes, and there was 2 Lucios that were like torturing our team, and I was like, okay, that's enough for me. And then I went to Rivals, and there was this like Iron Fist that was only coming after me, not even the other healer, mainly just me. And I ended up switching to Loki because I was like, okay, I have to be someone to counteract this stupid bitch. And I was still getting targeted by him to the point where he was following any place that I was teleporting and was just hitting around randomly to try and find me if he thought I stealthed. And he was just using it to get my shift out of me, and then he would just kill me, and everyone else was not looking back. And then he ended up getting like 37 kills and they won. I mean, he didn't kill me 37 times. I was just part of the casualties.
They were all you.
But I was like, damn, is this what people play on the weekend? They play Iron Fist just to do that? In particular?
Probably.
Yeah, and then...
They specifically like, where's the little gay boy I can kill?
I'm not the only one. And then for this week, there were more than last week. There's 7 new songs. And I would say the main one that I'd been listening to for a while was this one called Swicey by Eunice. It's a K-pop group. And they don't say Swicey. They say like swish. And I don't know why. But it's about like a sweet and spicy love. It sounds like a J-pop song to me because there's like rock guitar influence in it, and that's very J-pop, or at least like sounding almost like a anime opening in a way. And then a runner-up would be Hidden Gem by GFOTY, Girlfriend of the Year. I would not recommend any Girlfriend of the Year songs to Sarah in particular because she would probably be like, what the fuck is this music? But
I mean,
this most
I
recent
am not to most of it.
EP that she released called Influencer is pretty good. I've liked a couple of songs off of it, but this was the one that most recently made me like, wow, I didn't realize that this was gonna be a song that I really like. But yeah, that was what my stuff was. And I guess you didn't have a D&D session this week because you were
We did
occupied
not.
yesterday.
It's true. So there's no D&D update. I mean, as far as actual weekly obsessions go, I've been rewatching Ruby. I'm on volume 4. I think I'm almost done with volume 4. And I've been enjoying rewatching it. I always think it's very interesting to see the evolution of how something like that is made. And just how it progresses, like in terms of animation and everything. And I have a very similar affection towards like stuff like RVB and One Piece as well, because I just think it's very interesting to see how it starts at the bottom and then grows into incredible animation.
Sorry, at the bottom now with you.
But I was playing Baldur's Gate a little bit earlier, and Yoshi wanted to watch me play a little bit because she wants to see me meet everyone.
Oh boy.
She wants to see all my introductions.
That's gonna take a bit though, because there's some characters that don't even get introduced until way later.
Yeah. At this point, I've officially met Lizelle, obviously.
Yes. You kind of have to.
Yeah, Lizelle and Shadowheart, already met those two. Asterion, I've saved Gale. Kind of regretted it immediately afterwards, but I saved him.
Yeah, that happens.
And then we fought with Will, but I haven't technically met him yet.
You know
and that's
what?
kind
Oh
of
my
where
gosh.
we're at.
Once you meet every main character that you have a potential of having in your party, I want to get your initial impressions of them. Actually, no, give me your initial impressions of the characters that you've met so far.
And that's what Yoshi wants too.
Because then after the fact, I want you to tell me your updated ranking.
Okay. Am I ranking it based on... Well, because like Yoshi specifically is like wants me to rank based on how cool their introduction was.
That's not what I care about. I'm like, how much do you like them as a character?
Well, as of right now, Lizelle's probably my least favorite.
He always is.
Kind of a bitch. We'll see. Will, I thought he had a really cool introduction, but I don't really know him yet. Asterion, I think it was kind of funny that his attempted just intimidation tactic, like his botched interrogation was very funny to me. And I know about him the most because I've seen the most clips of him, so I know he can be very funny, but I also know he's kind of full of himself. So we'll see. And then Gale, I was like, oh, okay, here's Gale. And I pull him out. And I'm playing as a halfling, by the way. So Yoshi was like, how did you just pull out a full-grown man out of this portal? And I was like, don't worry about it. And I pull him out. And then he starts talking, and I'm like, oh, you sound pretentious as fuck.
Yeah.
You keep saying a bunch of words. It's like, I'm not convinced you know what half of them mean. But he's in the party as of right now. And then Shadowheart, I don't mind Shadowheart. I think she is probably my favorite right now. Out of the ones I've met, like properly met, she's my favorite.
I think Shadowheart and Asterion are the main ones that people like the most. But
I feel like I'm gonna like Karlach, but
well, yeah, I think you'll like her too. But at the same time, well, that's the funny thing. I know that you'll probably end up convincing people of things. You know?
I don't know what you mean by that, but okay.
There's just a lot. I know initially, similar to you, I was like, oh, I didn't know anything about the characters, to be honest. I was more just going into it and being like, are these gonna be potential party people? And when I first met Gale, I was very annoyed by him too. I mean, I was automatically annoyed by Asterion just because I was like, this is too much. This is too much considering I just fell out of a ship. But then on top of the fact, then Gale, I think I was playing a sorcerer my first time, and he just started like basically talking down to me about how I didn't practice to get magic. And I was like, what's wrong with you? I just saved your life. And it was very satisfying when I got to cut off his hand in another playthrough.
Dear God.
You can if you ever get scored by any of the characters, you have so much fun when you don't care about them later on, because you could just kill them. But yeah. And I don't know if Yoshi's told you this, I've notoriously tried to go for Gale multiple times and every time has failed, even when I thought.
Yes, I have heard about that.
I thought, like, my relationship with him, like the little friendship meter was like almost full. I would never get the prompts to do any of this stuff in camp or anything. And so I always was like, he just doesn't want me, so I don't want him. So I've had like more successful relationships with Asterion, and that's saying something because you have to know how to get his friendship meter up. But yeah. Honestly, I feel like at some point I should definitely go through the entirety of Lae'zel's arc, because I feel like she's the least liked out of all of them, and so no one typically keeps her. Her and Will, I would say, are typically the bottom ones that no one necessarily wants to keep in their party.
I could see myself liking Will from what I've seen so far.
I mean, he's a nice guy. That's pretty much it.
Well,
I think for me, he just always felt like he didn't have a lot of interesting things happening.
well, you know how I feel about pathetic men, though.
I wouldn't say he's pathetic. If anything, I feel like Asterion's much more pathetic, but that's because that's for a lot of reasons actually that you'll come to learn. So maybe you'll end up liking him way more later on anyways, to which you can get wildly different results. But I know personally, I always thought that Shadowheart first and then probably Karlach, they had the most interesting story arcs to me. That like varied a bunch too, and like how you wanted to deal with it. And I think Karlach, her entire romance is gonna make you cry.
Oh, boy,
So prepare for that.
that's what I need.
Crying over a tall, buff woman. It wouldn't be the first
I
time
do
for
every day.
you.
It's a common occurrence.
Yeah. Hi, Shani. But also,
Hi, Shani.
guess what, everybody? Guess what me and Sarah saw with Yoshi and Portillo? The Minecraft
Hold on.
movie. What?
We did.
What do you mean,
I
hold
have
on?
I have to tell about the trans
Oh,
thing.
God.
that happened with
I don't even
Yoshi.
know what this is.
So Tuesday, I was playing Persona,
You were.
and
I was there.
and someone who Yoshi and I are friends with from a while ago showed up in my stream, and she
Hi, Kester.
she's someone we haven't talked to in a while, basically. And so she mentioned how she didn't realize that I was queer until she saw the tag in my stream tag. And so I'm like, well, yeah, I'm queer, I'm trans, all that stuff. And she was like, you're trans? No one told me you're trans. We could have been trans besties. And I'm like, we still can. I'm always open to being trans besties with people. And so after stream, I went back and I clipped me greeting Moonsy specifically because it was funny. And I sent it to Yoshi and I was like, guess who stopped by my stream? Also, apparently no one ever told Moonsy I was trans, which I think is funny. And so apparently Yoshi never responded to that specific message, by the way. But she apparently she asked Quiz about it. I know that much.
Yeah.
Because she didn't realize I was trans. Or she knew I was trans in the sense that I was non-binary. But she didn't, in her mind, trans meant like FTM kind of a deal. And so she's talking to another one of our friends, and she's starting to ask about me being trans and everything like that, and if I've ever mentioned anything, because she's thinking like she's the last one to know. And she's talking about this. He thinks she's talking about a different one of our friends who just had a baby.
Okay.
And so he's like, yeah, what about him? And Yoshi's like, what do you mean him? What am I missing here? And so I just thought it was very, very funny. It was that Yoshi never even came to me and asked me what I meant, what I was talking about.
Okay.
I thought that was absolutely hilarious.
To be fair, I literally, when she called me, she didn't call me specifically because of this. She had mentioned it in a different conversation that we were having. And she had mentioned it and she was like, what is Sarah talking about? I specifically had mentioned the thing of like the most, because in my mind I was like, I mean, we haven't like had a full-on discussion or anything, but last time I remember having any kind of talks about this, there's talks about like non-binary and all that stuff, so that's what I would assume that Sarah means by that. But then
that non-binary was still under the trans umbrella.
But then I also to her was like, you could ask her. Like,
literally.
She would just tell you. And then she was like, but I'm worried about like how she would react. And I was like, what do you mean?
I love how it's usually the other way around. Usually the person who is trans is worried about coming out, but now this time she's worried about not coming out, but asking about me coming out. It's very funny to me. The entire situation was very, very humorous. I am terrifying, Mike. You've never seen me angry. I'm very scary when I'm angry, I've been told.
Yes. I could just like push you off.
Okay.
It would work though. You have a horrible sense of balance.
I do. That's neither here nor there though.
I'm just saying for future reference, if anyone ever encounters Sarah in an angry mood, you just push her over and she can't get up.
No, I can get up. Excuse you.
It depends
I'm not
on
like
how
a
you
turtle.
fall. If you hit a hole.
Are you breaking my leg?
No,
What?
if you hit a hole. It's like, oh my gosh, it's like that one scene in Avatar: The Last Airbender when Azula like throws him back and the rock hits the point where she struck him with lightning.
Oh.
If you get hit in your hole, then you'll die. And the Avatar state will cease to exist.
Wow.
Little did you know. Anyways, we saw the Minecraft movie.
We saw the Minecraft movie.
And
it was a time.
Okay, so also, I would like to mention, I was apparently the only one that knew nothing about this chicken jockey scene, and apparently how infamous it was online.
We're going and Yoshi's terrified. She's like literally having anxiety over like, because she doesn't know what's gonna happen, because she was seeing like how someone brought out a firework one time and someone was firing like guns and everything like that. And so she was terrified.
No, that was the funny part was like when I assumed it was coming up, was
I
when,
hate it.
was when the employees from the movie theater started walking into the theater, and they were
Yeah.
like standing guard on either side, just like standing there. And I was like, okay, so clearly that scene's coming up at some point. But yeah, and then people clapped when the chicken jockey showed up. People were clapping.
Yeah. People were clapping a lot during that movie. It was.
I don't understand why they were clapping so much.
It was. It is not a movie that I would ever probably watch again.
I mean, okay, in the beginning, before there was any story, before Jack Black went on his full monologue, and there's just like the Minecraft sounds and like the world loading, I was like, oh, this could be cool. And then it wasn't. Just because it was very.
No, it was not. It's so bad. It's good. It was just bad.
It's like geared towards iPad children, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
And I think they would find it very entertaining, honestly. I think for what it's worth, for what it's made for, that's good. But I think for anyone teenage and up is when the meter starts going down.
Cringe factor. And the cringe factor rises.
Because that's the sad part. The entire part of the movie that I was like, this is the best part, was all of the parts with Jennifer Coolidge dating a villager. Like,
I think that was unironically the best part.
Because it was Jennifer Coolidge and she was having her own love story with a villager that wandered in from the overworld.
And got hit by her Jeep
Grand Cherokee.
Mm-hmm.
And they went on a date immediately afterwards, and then they both could speak each other's language. So it was interesting. And
I think some of the special effects were good, but
I mean, Sarah did not like how the spiders were portrayed.
The spiders came on screen. Luckily, they were only in like one set of scenes.
The ladies were too bendy for Sarah.
They were too bendy, and they were too fucking big. And so they came on screen, and I just looked away. I just didn't watch that part of the movie. And my brother had his hand on my shoulder and was like, and when he removed his hand, I knew I could look back at the movie.
What a weird, safe way of doing that.
Yes, this is what the title of the podcast is from.
Yes, it is she. Listen, that's the thing. The scenes with Jennifer Coolidge were more than I thought there was gonna be, but also I wish there was more. I wish more, like half of the movie was just that one date night with Jennifer Coolidge and the villager. Even though it would have just been her talking, that would have been fine. She would have been able to carry that conversation.
And I will say, to the peanut gallery in my chat, that it was partially just Old Man Yowie, and I heard that it was Old Man Yowie, and I'm honestly surprised that we didn't get some sort of like accidental kiss scene, honestly, from them.
Honestly,
and then them playing it off and like disgust, kind of a deal. I'm surprised.
If it was that, and then they're like, "Oh, that's so gay," that would not surprise me. If that was,
it wouldn't have surprised me either. Oh my god,
that feels like that kind of humor that was going on.
Yeah, I was on Instagram and I'm scrolling and I find a interview with Jack Black and Jason Momoa talking about specifically the Elytra scene. And
you mean when they're 69 in air?
The first thing I hear is Jason Momoa say he was riding me and pulling my hair, and I'm like, okay.
I mean, everything about that, I don't understand. That's the thing. I feel like that entire scene was literally just made to be like, haha, it's funny, these two guys are gay. And I thought that's what it felt like they were trying to make it do.
It did.
And I was like, okay, this is why it's made for iPad children. And then that's the other thing. The kids that were representing children, supposedly, in this movie, the brother and the sister combo, both looked like they were from possibly the same grade, and neither of which belonged in high school. Maybe the girl did, but the small boy who supposedly was going to high school looked like he belonged in maybe 5th grade. Like, it was kind of crazy that they were trying to pass him off as a high schooler, even a freshman. That's crazy. And then all of the dialogue too. Jack Black should, okay, I have issues, not with Jack Black himself, but with Jack Black playing this character. Which again, for this iPad children demographic, I think it works great. He does all of the things that they would think are funny because of how cringy they are. But there was so much going on. There were so many spirit fingers. There were so many just announcing everything that was happening. There was singing multiple times from Jack Black.
It was so bad. It was.
There was a lava chicken jingle that just randomly happened so that Jason Momoa could eat a hot chicken wing, and I don't understand why it all happened in the first place. But it was and the inconsistencies. All these iPad children should know all of the inconsistencies in which the actual things in the game would not work this way.
You know, CinemaSins, there should just be like a CinemaSins one of the Minecraft movie, but it's specifically just pointing out how everything does not work in the game.
Probably like, will be. Let's be
probably.
Because that was one of the first things I was wondering, like right when they started getting shot at by the skeletons at nighttime and it was a flaming arrow, I was like, surely that's not a skeleton that's shooting that. But no, it just happened to be that every single skeleton that was coming after them had a flame enchanted bow and arrow. Everything that was happening was just a fever dream. And then there was the tater launcher that this boy crafted from an eraser and a tater tot with some iron. It was just so confusing.
There was so much. There was so much happening, and it was like I said it before, I'll say it again. It felt like someone had given a YouTuber who was first starting out making some sort of like Minecraft storytelling thing and wanted to kind of tell the story with Minecraft as a more of a B plot, let's be honest. And they gave this kid a bigger budget. That's kind of what it felt like. It did not feel like a well-written story or movie or anything along those lines.
That's the sad thing. I feel like the FNAF movie was better.
It was.
Like,
it actually
had some kind of story that I feel like
it had a story that you could follow a bit
watch. Even though Sarah was already terrified by the cupcake, but kids could watch it.
Rolling my eyes at you.
And adults could at least watch it and not be like the entire time, because there was something there. Whereas I feel like I could not watch this. I would literally, if I were to watch this a second time, I would only watch the Jennifer Coolidge parts.
It's true.
Yes, Sarah's a cupcake.
I was not scared. I know. If anything, if you're gonna point out anything, it's the fact that every single balloon boy jump scare got me.
Sarah had multiple points where she just couldn't look at the screen because she was getting jump scared.
No.
Not in the Minecraft
I was still looking
movie.
at this. I was still looking at the screen.
I specifically remember the Chica part.
Maybe? I don't know. I can't remember. Maybe I repressed it.
But yeah. It was something. Would not watch again.
Would not watch again.
And
the thing is, there was
compilation of the Jennifer Coolidge stuff.
There was a post-credit scene, which I'm terrified was trying to set up some sort of sequel. Please, for the love of God, don't let there be a sequel.
I doubt they would make a sequel. Well, that's not true. Because I think
Depending on how
this
good it
movie
does.
actually did really well.
Unfortunately.
But that's the only thing, though. It only did well because it was Minecraft.
They don't care. They see money. They're like, let's do it again. That was my Jack Black.
Let's do it again. I can see the fingers right now. Okay. Apparently, you're apparently dying.
Listen.
From what I can tell right now, so far, globally, it has made $720.8 million.
Jesus.
And it cost 150. So well over the budget.
Yeah.
So that's the thing though, Shani. It's partially kids, it's partially the adults that played Minecraft that are like us, that were like, we should see it because we want to know what it is. And we know what it is now. And
It
it's
had
something.
a couple of YouTubers in one scene.
That's all they could get.
Because it's honestly, I think part of the shame of it all is that if they were going to make a Minecraft movie, first off, there's plenty of animators who have worked with animating Minecraft. There are so many. Like, even if you did something in like the style of Minecraft story mode, I think immediately that would have been a better medium. Second off, like, even if you had like kind of a thing where it was real world and then into that animated thing, I think that would have been a lot more interesting. But also, second off, there are far more interesting stories based around the entire world of Minecraft and the Minecraft as a game on YouTube that people have written. There are people that would have made a much better script and still could have kept it fairly family friendly as well. And I think that's part of the shame, and it's especially because they were bringing in YouTubers, and they were bringing in some YouTubers who were specifically known for storytelling. Some, to be fair, they picked out ones that were more just popular ones, but it was a case of they could have it would not have been hard for them to have gotten people who have told stories in Minecraft to create a story for this movie. That would have been far more entertaining than what it was.
At the same time, though, I feel like one of the reasons it also at least got some kind of more recognition was because of how, like, when the trailer dropped and everyone was like, what the fuck is this? Because of how they decided to stylize it and everything. And then on top of that, because it's not like, unless they were trying to somehow build off of whatever lore already exists in Minecraft, if you could say that, like, I guess with like strongholds, abandoned buildings, all that kind of stuff, which I feel like would take, well, that's the thing, it would take a lot more creativity to put that together comparatively to just say it's a pig witch from the Nether.
Literally. Like,
with her general chunkus.
And they've like only focused on the Nether. They didn't touch on the end or any of that aspect.
Even though there were indications that apparently Jack Black, not Steve, had been to the end before.
Yeah, like, because they had Elytra. They were flying without rockets, but still they had Elytra. But he only had one eye of, like, one ender pearl. There was one instance of what I believe was an ender chest, and like one glimpse, like, and one frame practically in the Woodland Mansion.
Oh, and
but
also
that was it.
Enderman can also apparently bring out your deepest fears. Little did we know, they can warp reality into showing you your nightmares. Everything was just very confusing. It was very confusing. It was very weird, and it felt
like it was made. It felt like it was an old man who was trying to be hip with the kids, who had a very vague idea of what Minecraft was.
And it felt,
and thought, "Ooh, what if?"
It almost felt like they were throwing in jokes and or references, i.e., I yearn for the mines, that feel dated at this point. And I think that's also what made me kind of like, ugh, about it.
Yeah.
Because that's the other thing, that the 69ing Jack Black Jason Momoa, that was not the only instance of the weird gay bromance thing. Because then he also had that weird conversation with the dealer at the storehouses.
Yeah, I don't know. I still don't know what the fuck that was
about, and it went on for almost too long.
On.
Like,
yeah, it was so weird.
I feel like there's just a lot of parts of it that were very much geared towards little boys that were like 12 years old. Like that would be their humor.
But even that, like, I think there was some stuff that they wouldn't have understood. I didn't understand a good portion of it. And I think there was like an attempt at a lot of like visual humor. And I just don't think a lot of it landed. Like half the fight scenes were a lot of, I think, more geared towards a slapstick visual humor than what.
There's a lot of flying CGI.
A lot of flying CGI, but like that entire one where they hit the piglin's belly and you just got a close up of it jiggling. Like, what was the point of that? Was that meant to be funny? I don't understand. But why?
Because jiggle make funny.
And there was a lot of just random scenes that didn't serve a purpose. I like the lava chicken one, like the entire them trying to get the villager the map villager at the boat. Like, what was the point of that? There was literally no point to that entire scene. They could have it would have been far more succinct because they don't see that villager again. They don't even trade with that villager. It would have been far more succinct for them to do one of two things. To either, when that first shot was made and that killed the villager next to the map villager, to have just shot the map villager and have that map villager die. Or to have it so that after the fight, when it was like, it could have been kind of like a similar thing to a raid, where, oh, the villagers would shower them with gifts, because that's what villagers do in the game, and they could have gotten a map that way. But in the end, they didn't even get a map. They made a big deal about getting a map, and then no map was ever gotten, and they just were wandering anyways.
And then they built a house. That part,
house.
I don't understand.
I'm not sure how that they would have needed silk touch for.
I mean, if all the skeletons have flame bows.
I mean,
it wouldn't surprise me if they crafted a pickaxe with silk touch.
Because there's those fucking swift boots.
It was just odd. Also, I had a thought about this the other day too. Was the weird portal orb thing supposed to be like the inner part of a beacon?
Maybe?
Because that's what it looked like. And then it did that weird beacon thing at the end where it turned the entire world into nighttime.
Yes?
I have no clue. And they kept calling it
an earth crystal?
They called it like a sphere, and then there was an ender pearl that was an actual sphere, but the actual thing they were calling a sphere was a cube. So I have no clue.
There was a lot to this movie.
There's continuity issues.
There's continuity issues, but there was just a lot of bad storytelling. Like, I understand this was a movie that was more geared towards kids, but kids can understand and appreciate more in-depth, intricate storytelling. They don't need to be spoon-fed random shit.
It depends on the child, i.e. iPad kid.
But I think it's also just doing a disservice, especially doing a disservice to a very well-loved franchise that is known for its storytelling capabilities.
I think more than anything, it feels sad for the people that originally started playing Minecraft, because I feel like it got popular with a bunch of kids later on, and obviously we were still kids when we played it, but the thing is we grew up with it to a point because it was still out like way back when. It was just an older version, and so them making this now but geared towards, I guess, the newest audience of Minecraft feels kind of like, well, what's the point of us then?
Yeah, it's just...
Yeah, so long story short, not the best. There was, I guess, some cute animals, maybe. The sheep, no. Yoshi liked the alpaca.
My boy. Yeah.
Yoshi liked the alpaca. I think the wolf was cute. I'm not paying attention to the fact that they like were trying to kill them before they gave them bones, even though that's not how it works. But the wolves were cute, at least. And then the iron golems with the swift boots.
I think the design of the iron golems is really cool. I really like the design and everything like that. I liked the design of the tools. I think those were pretty cool.
Oh my gosh, I was gonna ask you this too.
What?
Compared it to every other creature that they seemingly made, like their own kind of like realism versions of, did the Enderman not look like that at all to you? It looked so simplistic to me. It looked like it was directly from Minecraft when I saw it.
It did, yeah.
And I was like, they didn't do anything extra with it? Because like even when its mouth started to open, it still looked the exact same. And I was like, interesting.
It just looked like a cardboard cutout that they were kind of just like moving around without like, because it didn't really move a lot either.
No, it only teleported.
Because it didn't even try to attack even.
There's just a lot of things.
Yeah.
Jennifer Coolidge MVP. She really
also
carried
just
that movie.
The idea that Endermen guard the 3rd floor of a woodland mansion?
I don't even know if
like Endermen have nothing
to
do.
I don't understand any of the logistics of that. But yeah.
And I was leaning over when the kid went into the room with all the chests in the woodland mansion. I'm leaning over to Portillo and I'm like, everyone knows all those chests are completely empty. And then they showed him full of everything. I'm like, no, a woodland mansion would never.
Well, your woodland mansion would never. But this one that was not in a woodland. It was on top of a mountain. There was no woods, there were trees around it. They weren't dark forest trees.
Yeah.
It's just sad.
Sad. I don't think there was any other, like, I think we only saw oak trees. I don't think there was any other kind of trees.
No, there's bamboo. Not in the jungle,
I guess.
but there was bamboo. Because they, for some reason, just randomly threw in pandas at one point.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just that. It is what it is. And you gotta just be like, I guess this is what we're given.
I would rewatch it under one condition, and that is that I'm allowed to keep pausing it to just nitpick every single thing.
But at that point, we have to make a video out of it.
Well, yeah.
But that means we would have to watch it so many times.
No, we just watch it once, very slowly.
Yeah, but that would take forever. And the only reason and or way that I think we should do that is if we were getting drunk. Because there is no way I could do that slowly.
New Year's Eve plans.
I don't want to make that my New Year's Eve.
Enter in 2026 in a way.
Plus, I'm pretty sure I get New Year's Eve off. I don't think I get New Year's Day off. And depending on where it falls. Ugh.
I get both off, I'm pretty sure, so.
Well, I'm happy for you. You have fun with that. But, yeah. So, that was the Minecraft movie. That was our experience. And on to a different topic. It was... No, it wasn't. It was. It is. It's Easter today, by the way.
It is.
I forgot that we put the Easter's bunnies. Which, speaking of...
We put the Easter's bunnies?
Did you know where the Easter bunny comes from?
Like, what do you mean? Like, what? Culture?
No, like, where it just came from in general. Like, why do we have an Easter bunny?
I want to say it. I know it doesn't originate from like some European country.
I think Germany. Pretty sure.
I want to say Germany too.
But
why?
The funny part is, I'm pretty sure I was literally from Lutherans.
Why though?
I think it was their version of.
Yeah, German Lutherans. You're right.
It was kind of Santa-esque in a way of like they gave candy, I think. maybe full eggs. I don't remember if they gave actual eggs or not, but it was something along the lines of like, it was for good children, it was for bad children. I don't know if there's ever a punishment other than not getting something. But I don't understand. I never fully understood why specifically.
The idea. Okay. In ancient times, it was widely believed that the hare was a hermaphrodite.
What?
The idea that a hare could reproduce without loss of virginity led to the association with the Virgin Mary, with hares sometimes occurring in illuminated manuscripts and Northern European paintings of the Virgin and Christ child, may also have been associated with the Holy Trinity, as in the three hares motif.
Oh.
So they thought bunnies just popped out.
And the eggs symbolize the tomb of Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so confused. So technically speaking, all of the people that are saying like, why are you celebrating? Well, that's the thing. I've seen double-sided. I've seen religious people be like, why are people only counting Easter with the Easter bunny? And then I've seen non-religious people being like, why do we specifically have to do anything for Easter? Or why does it have to specifically be associated with religion? Meanwhile, the bunny was the religious Mary all along. The bunny,
Literally, yeah.
The bunny be a virgin. Honestly, Mikey,
Easter is meant to symbolize Jesus Christ resurrecting from the dead.
Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ. That's the funny thing, though. I feel like because of how, I guess, diluted it got in certain areas, it was basically Easter fun time candy meal.
Have you not been
egg
listening,
hunt.
Mikey? We literally just explained how it's related to eggs and bunnies.
Yeah, but Mikey only listens selectively.
Well, then he can go back and watch the VOD, because we just explained it.
But yeah, I guess I always wondered that, because we always had the Easter egg hunt. But also, I'm assuming at some point they use real eggs.
Yeah.
Like hard-boiled eggs, to which I always think to myself, if you don't find that egg, it's gonna start smelling.
You'll find it then.
Or not, and it'll just be a rotten egg smell the entire time.
Well, you live with the consequences of your actions. It's just a reminder of Jesus.
But then, what?
You heard me.
Okay. But then also, well, that's the thing. It wasn't initially blatant
It
consumerism.
didn't go to blatant.
If anything,
went from God to bunnies first.
it went more, I guess, to candy, because there's a lot of candy associated with Easter. But I guess that's kind of part of it with the bunny thing, because the whole thing was that good children get the candy. Hide,
And toys, I
you
saw
have
too.
to promise us that at some point in the future you'll get drunk with us and play Mario Kart. At the same time that we kidnap Rose from her home nearby.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean on what? Oh, I finally evolved my Pokemon Go Magikarp.
Oh wow, finally?
That probably took over a year to do.
Yeah.
And I finally evolved it, and you know, now I have all the rest of the quest involved with what I was trying to evolve it for to do. However, I have been able, I'm not kidding, we'll make you get the Mario Kart 8 on Switch. We'll force you to buy it with your own hard-earned money. But now that I've done the Magikarp, I finally can do a bunch of other Pokemon that need to be your party Pokemon to be evolved. So I've been doing that recently. And I've gotten like
I'm
2
doing
evolved already.
I'm doing it as if I played Pokemon Go recently. I'm doing it in Pokedex order.
Huh. Good luck with that.
But I'm also doing it because if you adventure with the, your partner Pokemon, you get candies sometimes. And I have still not fucking evolved my goddamn Charmeleon, whatever. I haven't
You've
evolved it, so
never
I'm just
gotten a
keep walking.
Charizard?
Nope.
What a sad life you must live.
I don't get a lot of the Kanto starters. I don't know why. The quickest Kanto starter I got fully evolved was Squirtle for Community Day.
Yeah, I mean, that's sad though. I feel like for how long you've played the game.
I know. I don't know why it's taken so long. Genuinely, I could not tell you.
Or there've been Charizards or Charmanders. Like, have you never fought a Charmander in the Dynamax thing?
I don't think so.
Well,
I haven't played a lot since they introduced Dynamax.
oh my gosh. Speaking of Easter too, I can talk about the fun Tenebrae service that I went to.
Oh boy, okay.
So, I already briefly told this to Yoshi and Sarah, but this past Friday, we went to a Good Friday, because it's Good Friday, which they made a very clear point on in the sermon, to a Tenebrae service at a Lutheran church. Random Lutheran church. I say random. It was a Lutheran church that we have seen / been to for Christmas events before, but they were having a Good Friday service, and the Tenebrae service specifically is supposed to, I guess, be some kind of mimicking version of the beginning part of the Easter story of Jesus being crucified and then going into the tomb. And so there were specific points in service that they were like putting a lot of theatrics into. It's the best I could say, because I told Sarah and Yoshi this, but the main thing that they did, like other than like a normal church service, I guess, with some choir music and some hymnals, that was the other thing that I was thinking to myself when I was singing these hymns. I say singing loosely because I feel like every time I have ever been put in a position where I have to sing hymns, it's a game of guess the pitch and the timing, because I'm not familiar with them. And granted, typically with a hymn, if you figure it out by the first like verse, you'll figure it out by the rest of the verses, because they pretty much keep the same intonation, I don't care, notes, that stuff, they keep that. However, on the first go around, when you're initially supposed to be singing it, they be doing the weirdest melodies, because sometimes you think it's gonna end one way and they don't end it that way, and you're like, oh, that's new. Or they drag out a word for like multiple bars that you're like, why is this being taken on for so long? And then they speak through the rest of the line. Because that was happening this past Friday, where I was like, what is this hymn? But no, we sung some hymns, listened to some choir music, and then for the main part of the service, which was, I guess, the climax, if you wanted to call it that, was they had this, not menorah, that's not what it's called, but they had this like pier of candles, and it was mirrored on each side, and there was one in the middle that was up in the top. So basically what ended up happening was they were going through things that Jesus had said when he was being crucified, and as they were saying these statements, they were like taking the candles and putting them out. And as they were putting out the candles, someone in the back of the room was dimming the lights. And so the lights in the room were slowly beginning to dim. And then once they got it to only the center candle, that was the Jesus candle, the main pastor, which I swear there was like 3 or 4 pastors at this service, the main one, I guess, took the candle from there and started walking it down in the dark to the back of the hall. And all the while they put on like this eerie like wind track in the background on the speakers of like I can't even mimic it. You'd have to, like, it sounded like it belonged in Haunted Mansion. And it was playing in the darkness with this lone pastor carrying a candle, to which I thought, this seems terrifying. But then on the screen, right after he went to the back of the room, or I guess took it out of the room, they put a warning on the screen, like a jump scare warning, essentially, because they're like, there's gonna be a loud noise to signify the tomb closing, and there was not a very loud noise. I was expecting cymbals, I was expecting a whip crack, anything. It just sounded like your typical sound effect for a rock moving. And it still jump scared some people in the audience, mind you, because sure it did. And then after that, the pastor then came back in utter silence with this candle, walking back to the front, putting the candle back, and then everyone stood up and danced away in silence because the whole point of it was that we were supposed to walk out in silence. And then once we even got into the parking lot, it was completely dead silent there. And I felt like I shouldn't be speaking or anything until I got into our car. And I was worried that if I did say something that people were gonna look at me bad. So it was weird. It was very theatrical, and it was not something that I'm typically used to, because if I remember like any of the Lutheran services that we ever went to with like Grammy or something, they were long. There was a lot of hymns. There was a whole thing, but this one was relatively short, I would say, in comparison, but also had a lot of extra stuff thrown in there. But I was like, interesting, but I don't know. I mean, if there was more of that in normal church services, in terms of like, let's make it a performance, then that could be fun. I want to go to a horror movie every time I go to church. I want to be scared. I want to feel like I'm being pursued in a bad way.
Some people are. Just being gay in a church not do that for you?
Yeah, I mean, not really, because, you know, if I don't speak to people, then they don't typically catch on. But
I don't know. I think the way you hold yourself in your dress can sometimes give it away.
Did you say hold myself in my dress?
Yeah.
You think I'm going to these services in dresses?
No, how you hold yourself and your dress. Like what you wear.
Dresses.
No.
I do.
I mean, maybe.
It was a sundress. It was a sundress moment in the church.
I don't think a Good Friday service is a place for a sundress.
And I was commando. That was the secret.
Oh, wow.
But, yeah. So that happened. That was a fun time. One other thing though that I had thought about talking about last week that I didn't, that fun enough is a bit more poignant now that we've seen the Minecraft movie, was I specifically wanted to talk about, do you know about building with display entities in Minecraft? I'm looking at you.
Maybe.
You can't tell, but I'm looking at you.
I need to remind myself what a display entity is.
It's basically when you can display any kind of entity, whether it be a block surface or it be like an item, and you can display it in 3D in the real world. Well, in the overworld, not the real world.
I was like, what? No, I've never messed with it. I don't know anything about it.
Because I know there's specific add-ons / mods that people use to make these insanely detailed builds for no reason other than just to make them. Because they have to like individually place all of these different blocks to make these creations. Like I've seen someone use a bunch of
I've seen that.
Like different doors and stuff to make a picture frame, and I'm thinking, dear God, who has the time? But clearly some people do. And then on top of that, when they say that this is like the way to level up your building in vanilla, I'm thinking it's not vanilla though, because you have to use like commands and stuff to even access this.
Some of them don't need commands. Some of them I think are just, you can do glitches.
Do you want to build with a glitch?
I mean, you can.
Oh, and that was the other thing that came up. There was a video that came up recently that specifically was talking about what happened to ugly Minecraft. And the main premise of it was, why is it that every starter home now needs like 17 different kinds of wood and a bunch of different blocks that you have to farm like at least a day for? What happened to like the old dirt ugly cobblestone houses and all that stuff? And why is everyone like saying that it has to look this way and all that? And I watched that and I was thinking to myself, you know, I feel like those are the differences between me and Sarah. And it's not even necessarily that I think you should build away, but I know that I would want to build a fancy house.
I was about to say, what happened to it? I play with you.
That's me. Okay.
You like, don't build something ugly near me.
That's because I'm fine with you building something ugly of your own volition. I let you have your little areas that you've made into like these giant factories. But at the end of the day, I feel like that's kind of in my mind, especially now looking at like that old Minecraft server and how it was not necessarily pretty, I would say.
No, absolutely not.
But to that point, there was a lot of different styles of weird things, and I feel like I could definitely pick out the things that I had built versus like what other people
You had a
built.
very specific style though back then too.
Yeah, I don't even know what the style would be as much as it was a lot of blocks that you could not obtain normally.
Yeah, it was a lot of like precious block building.
But then again, I feel like that was a lot of kids. And
It's true.
At the same time,
We didn't have the appreciation for the simple things.
I feel like I would love if there was some kind of server or something that we ever did as a group where it was never a community house specifically, because I don't care, because we did that kind of with the modded server.
Yeah.
Even though we were like next to each other in that like enclosed village, it was still like everyone had their own house and what they were building. And I learned very quickly that if I was ever helping Rose, she did not want it, because that was the only time I've ever had Rose yell at me, and it was not a fun time.
Yeah.
But to that point, we all had very different builds in very different areas. The only issue is Faye is horrible.
Wow.
Because she has the exact same mentality that the other people do, in terms of like, you start playing Minecraft for like a week and then you get bored because you feel like there's nothing to do. And I feel like, and granted that's similar to Shinny too, but Shinny to a less extent, because she doesn't even want to get on Minecraft for that 1 week. So really it's just mainly like me, you, occasionally Faye, and if we can muster Shinny to get on if she's in the mood for it. Which I think the main reason we convinced her of that one April Fool's one is because it was weird and different, to which we never even fully settled down in a world.
It's true.
But in terms of like the entirety of wanting a similar vibe to, say, what that old server was, but I guess with updated, not necessarily people, but updated what people would be willing to build and or would build and all that stuff, I feel like that would be cool, but it would be hard to do / keep other people interested in. Because I know,
Thank you, Lunar Ace, for the follow, by the way.
there's a lot of like old servers, like servers on old versions that people still play on to this day, and it's very similar to that vibe, if not even grander, because they're building these giant things with those old blocks that they have available to them. And I feel like that would be interesting, but at the same time, I don't think new Minecraft people could ever do old Minecraft. Case in point, that one time I tried to do it and Faye was like, I hate this.
Yeah.
Because I was used to that at that point, and I was like, this is something that I like grew up playing, and so I was like, oh, it's all classic. And Faye was like, I hate the block selection, all the blocks look ugly, why am I not moving fast, I can't sprint anywhere. And so it's hard to find a medium, I guess, but I feel like it would be cool if it was ever possible to do in a similar way that kept interest long term.
I feel like there is a certain thing where there isn't as much interest in modding Minecraft nearly as, like, to the extent that it was beforehand. With stuff like, the Witchery mod. That's what it's called, Witchery?
I feel like that's the thing.
I think
the version
Battlecraft is still being updated,
I
but
think 1.7.10 was like the modded golden age.
the golden age, yeah.
Because there were so
you had stuff
many
like
mods that were
Yeah,
like good.
Yeah. And I feel like the Create mod and its various extensions have kind of become like a new Technic type thing, but it doesn't really have the same feel to it.
Yeah, but at the same time, I always wonder with certain mods like that if like the whole reason it doesn't feel the same to me is completely based off of nostalgia glasses or something.
It could be true.
Because I know, like, way back when I first played Tekkit and stuff and was getting into industrial craft and like all of those horrible looking blocks, they felt very new and foreign comparative to Minecraft, or like equivalent exchange. When you could make like your ring that lets you fly, that felt so cool because that was
Oh yeah.
not a thing you could do.
Yeah, I
But
think maybe it might be also a case of we just have so much now in the game
I think
that a lot
so.
of it's like we can already do this, that we're looking back and it's like, well, yeah. Like when we were playing on that modded server and we were working on getting those rings so we could fly like in creative mode, and we viewed it more as a nuisance and a bother than a like, oh, we could do this kind of a deal.
Well, also at this point, especially in that instance, because the whole way that we were even getting the wings for people to fly was we had to keep summoning a wither in a cage and killing it as we're flying after it.
Yeah.
And at that point, because you also have to think like a wither's supposed to be a really hard boss, but we're basically flying after it in the sky, trying to kill it to make more wings for other people to fly.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. We were also doing it basically just us, because at that point, Faye had already lost interest. I think Rose was getting on occasionally, but she wasn't getting on that often. And so it was basically just us. And I think you have to be a special kind of like mentally deficient
Autistic?
to be interested. For all I know, could be on the spectrum. Not even go by. But that on top of like, because it feels like normal vanilla Minecraft these days feels like it has so much and yet not as much, because it keeps people's interests,
yeah,
but it doesn't keep it enough, because there's always supposed to be a goal, because that's when Faye gets bored. I'm using her in all these instances just because she's the main one I think of that this applies to, where like if we don't have a direct goal of like we should go to the end, fight the Ender Dragon, we should explore for the cities and stuff, or we should go to like the what are the copper places called, the trial chambers. If we don't have those places to go, then what's the point? Because it used to straight up be building, because that's all you really could do in the game. And so
all there really was. Yeah,
I think now, because it's become kind of like in that centralized, there's a goal, but then when there's not a goal, what's the point? That's kind of where mods like are the main sub in for it, but even then they can only go so far.
Yeah. Like one thing this could just be complete preference on how to play the game, but like Yoshi was playing on a prison server.
Oh god, yeah.
I don't really find the appeal of prison servers because PvP stresses me out. But she was playing, and the thing is, she was specifically playing at a point where she was just prestiging. She had escaped the prison, and they were just making these giant farms just to farm money. Like, they weren't building anything giant, and it was just literally just to prestige. There was no overarching goal other than just number, get big kind of a deal. Like, there was nothing like, even then I can't really say tangible in the terms of a video game, but there wasn't anything to look back and be like, oh yes, I did this. I mean, other than having big farms, I guess.
Well, I mean, also
and
at
the thing
that point, she
built
became
farms,
like a
but I
warden.
No, this is a recent one.
How recent?
Like, last I heard her talk about was like a few months ago.
Oh dear God.
Maybe literally a month ago, maybe. That was her most recent Minecraft kick.
Well, I know she, for a long time, there was the prison servers, especially, where she was a prisoner and then she became a warden. So she became the abusers of the prisoners. And then before that, her horse girl days led her to the ranch and craft, which I don't even think is around anymore.
Probably not.
And that was purely based off of the fact that they had specialized like plugins in place on the server where you could train your horses in like all these different categories. And then she would build stables for all these other people to store her horses, because you could have multiple. And so, I don't know. I feel like she has different goals. Every hole is a goal, but not for her. That's Rose's goal. I do what's it called? What's
By curse, actually.
What's that one server called? You know the one I'm talking about.
Which I need more info. Ugh.
Let me look it up.
Axios?
No.
Hearthcraft?
No.
Oh, then I have no clue what you're talking about.
Show me what it is. Show me what it is. Show me what it's that fantasy one.
Windcraft.
Windcraft, that's what it's called. I feel like that was a good glimpse into a progression that also felt like almost a completely different game. But that's the thing, it kind of was a different game because it was fully like an RPG that they even updated even more so, and the map was massive.
One of the things that interests me about Windcraft, and I think part of it is the fact that also, because one of the founders of it, Grian, is on Hermitcraft, and so I watch him a lot. And what is very interesting, but I'm pretty sure he's more on the like promoting it and like the social and also building side of Windcraft rather than the storytelling. But I think it's very interesting because he's one of the people who, despite the fact that he is one of the main people who host like events on servers and stuff like that, he is very not willing to play into like a narrative of any kind on a server.
Well,
he's not really into the storytelling. He's very much like, yeah, we're playing a game here, okay, rather than telling a story, which I think is very interesting.
Well, I know that the entire environments in that server though are crazy.
Oh yeah,
because they're all like hand built essentially.
Exactly.
Which I always thought was insane considering the sheer size of the map, that even to this day we have not accessed all of that map.
It's true.
Because the level system is crazy for how large the gap is in the areas that you can go to. But I feel like that was the first time, I guess, in a decent while that there was a server that felt like it was more than just a one-off. Because nowadays with like the hives and the Mineplex and all of those ones going away, because no one was playing them, because there was like no end goal, I guess, maybe. On top of that, with like the decline of general players and stuff, because that's the thing, there have been more people that have started to play Minecraft, i.e. the children, but I don't think they were playing those kinds of servers if they were having all these issues. So it makes me wonder like what they were doing or what was interesting to them, I guess, or if they were only doing like single player worlds, which I doubt, because they had to play somewhere with their own children kind.
Well, the thing is, like, we don't have a name for him, but you know, one of our, is he technically a cousin? Second cousin?
Who?
One of the children in our family. Can I just say his name? Doesn't matter.
Sure.
Xander.
Oh.
When he and I think it was his mom visiting, this was a few years ago, but they were visiting and he was playing Minecraft, I think, and he was showing me his world and everything because he was playing like on his tablet and everything. But he was showing me about how he was building and he was doing redstone stuff. And his mom mentioned how, like, yeah, he really enjoyed watching people like Mumbo Jumbo and stuff like that. And it made me think, well, there are a lot of kids still playing Minecraft, but I don't think they play it in the same way as adults do. And I think that's very obvious in the sense that they don't really have a...
Not Mojo
No,
Jojo?
not Mojo Jojo. Mumbo Jumbo, you heathen. Where I think kids don't have as much, and you can even see it on our old server. They don't have nearly as much of a trepidation in failing, I guess.
Like
in the sense of, oh,
building.
yeah, like they don't have it as much where it's like, oh, I can't make the most complicated redstone contraption. I can't build the most beautiful thing, but I'm still playing it, and look, I'm doing something that, look, I created something.
It's true. When I made a piston door, a hidden piston door, that was amazing.
But it was just it's a case where it's like I don't even think a lot of kids are playing with people outside of their immediate family or friends either. I don't think there's a lot of children on servers as much as we might think there are. Because there certainly are,
well,
but I don't think there's
much. It makes me
much.
wonder, though. It makes me wonder, like, what shift happened, because I feel like back when we were younger and we were playing Minecraft, there's a lot of kids on these servers, like, playing at the same time. And I don't know if it's the parent lock or if it's, like, maybe they don't necessarily want to do that as often. I don't know.
Hard to tell. It is hard to tell. Because especially as Minecraft Mojang itself has added a bit more sanctioned servers as well, especially with stuff like realms and all that stuff. And that Mojang has done a lot in regards to that stuff. So it would be an interesting thing to kind of see the trends and see like what happened in like the age demographics. But I don't know.
Because I remember way back when, well, that's the thing. That's the thing, though. Even back when we had that server, we had our server, like Dio Quiz.
Yeah.
A lot of the people there, like, there were some people that were older than us, but there were also people that were either our age or younger that were playing. Yeah. And there was a bunch of people like in our age range too. And I remember thinking that seemed like on par. Like, you would find people from teenagers to like young adult area, like 20s, to literally 10, 11-year-olds playing on these Minecraft servers, like survival, and they were all playing on it. And they were all talking to each other, and you could tell which ones were the children because of how they were talking. But I feel like and I think maybe it also has to do with the fact that I don't feel compelled to get on servers these days, because it almost feels like every single server that you see that's publicized for you to connect to feels like an MLM in a way.
Yeah, that's fair.
And that's not what I thought was fun, because like back when we had our server, sure, we had like events and stuff that we wanted to do, but majority of the time it was just you go away from spawn and you do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was just sad to see.
I will say that's one of the reasons I was really excited that I was able to find the NHC, the not Hermitcraft server that I was playing on for a while, and I haven't gotten on in a while, simply because I have been burnt out on Minecraft. But I was specifically looking for people to play Minecraft with, and I was looking for a server that functioned similar to Hermitcraft, in the sense that it was more community oriented, and it was a case of hosting events, but it was that events everyone could join in on. It had a built-in voice chat. It had stuff like that. It didn't have a lot too many plugins that were like, it didn't have like an MCMMO or anything like that, or chest shops. It was a diamond-based economy, so it was like an honor system more than anything. And there was actually a lot more technically children there than I realized, but there was also a lot of older individuals. And so that was, I really enjoy playing on the server. I'm gonna go back to that server when I'm not as burnt out. But that's when I play Minecraft. I play it more. Well, I know a lot, and I really enjoy learning about it and how it works. I enjoy it more for the community aspect and the storytelling aspect.
That's the other thing. I feel like similar to that, you do not find hardly any public vanilla servers. There's always something extra.
There's always something extra, yeah.
And I feel because that was all you could do way back in the day, I feel like that's what I kind of miss in a way. But at the same time, because of how things are and how people are, I don't know if I would trust getting on one of those servers.
Yeah. I think that's another reason why there aren't as many, is because there's just a lot of people who would join servers just to troll and to grief and all that stuff. So to have just a plain vanilla server that doesn't have something like that, if you wanted to have an economy, you kind of have to have chest shops, or otherwise people are just going to steal. And you have to have claim plots and everything like that, or else people are going to grief. And that's just a sad fact of humanity at that point.
Yeah. To quote Jack Black.
Oh God.
There are two kinds of people in the world. Ones who like to create and ones who like to destroy. because creating is harder than destroying, and that's why a majority of people choose the latter.
No, he said they chose the Dios.
I didn't say it was a direct quote. And I was not about to say that because no. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's hard, especially now, just experiencing that, to have any kind of trust that nothing's gonna go wrong in any of those
I
kinds of
still
worlds.
remember that one time we were playing on a faction server.
Horrible idea, by the way.
Yeah, and you weren't on, and we were like in the middle of the ocean. And someone was like, yeah, TP me and I'll give you something. And I did, and they put creepers down and it blew everything up.
Yeah.
And then you came on and you were pissed and you were like, you just stopped playing on that server.
Because at the same time, I feel like a lot of the times when we were trying to look for servers, we were just trying to find anything, and there was a lot of faction servers, which I hate those kinds of servers where it's like a turf war. Which, to be fair, if you want to talk about like crazy turf war or like psychotic vanilla servers, technically 2b2t, because that shit wild.
But those are people who are
anarchy.
Yeah, but that's literally what it's called. It's an anarchy server. It's literally, there's no rules or anything like that. You're not going there to try and play legit. You're going there to test out hacks. You're going there to blow things up. You're not going there to do legit things. Because actually, I don't know if you know anything further about 2b2t.
I know that there's lore and events and all these different groups too.
Yeah, but they're actually very strict on how certain things go. Like, you're not allowed to like go too crazy with it. You can't dox anyone or anything like that. They're very, I guess, ethical is this the word? I don't know if that's the word I would go for, but they aren't like, yeah, you can do anything you want, there's no repercussions ever. It's like, if you do something that's a bit if you go too far, like, yeah, no, fuck you, and we'll kind of ruin everything. We will crash your computer, kind of a deal. But it is controlled chaos, and there are people who would develop like glitches and everything on 2b2t and then take them to like certain pay-to-win servers and completely crash their server until they got rid of their pay-to-win aspects.
And even then, I feel like with 2b2t, even though what it literally is anarchy and everyone technically is for themselves, there's still community there, because there's still like those groups and factions that exist that are kind of almost Illuminati-esque, but it's still interesting. And then how like there's nether highways and everything that people use that go like span the entire world essentially, because of how large they are at this point. Which I always and the fact that they have been consistently using the same world even through the updates, I thought was interesting too. Because I
think there's also, go on.
Well, no, because I think the whole time, like anytime updates happen, like for instance with strongholds and everything, they would just have to figure out through new areas that strongholds could spawn, and that was like back when there was only one or two.
Well,
and
yeah,
so
that's one of the
that
things
became like holding it above the economy and not telling people where it is, because then they could go and fight the Ender Dragon.
Well, one of the things about that is that a fairly common glitch known about glitch now is that you can reload chunks. You can just completely reload them if you just overload it. And so in a case like that, if they updated and then so the seed technically changed and a chunk that was already previously generated would now have a stronghold in the new update, you could just overload that chunk and reset it and there would be a stronghold there.
I have not heard of that, Mikey, but honestly that doesn't surprise me. Because
I have no idea what you're
that's kind of the part that I don't like about it. Because it's anarchy, nothing's safe. Nothing's sacred.
Yeah, well.
So it's like a weird mixed bag of like, I like certain aspects, but overall I would never get on that server for a lot of reasons. There's
kind of a similar, I would argue that it's a similar environment on like servers like Hypixel as well. Specifically Hypixel Skyblock.
Oh god, yeah.
that's a whole bagworms that terrifies me
A
to no
bagworm.
end. A bagworm, yes.
I miss all of the mini games from Hive and from Mindplex.
Same.
Block
I
Party
wish
was my jam.
I liked Super Smash Mobs. I love Turf Wars. Turf Wars was fun. There were
See,
so many fun games.
that's the other thing. I feel like people don't like having fun anymore. Not in the mini game sense, I guess, because I feel like there's not many, if like any, popular mini game servers anymore.
That's one of the yeah, there's no like main minigame servers, but that's one of the reasons I really enjoy like the Hermitcraft and everything, is because that's what some of them mainly do, is just make mini games. But these are like completely redstone mini games, like completely vanilla.
That's impressive in its own fact, but I don't think it has the same, like, I guess, game factor in my mind.
Like they made Played Up
Oh,
pretty
God.
much in Minecraft. They made I think it was a mix of Played Up and Overcooked. They made Among Us. They made kind of this roguelike dungeon crawler. They made Wordle. And so there's just it's a fact that people do still really enjoy playing mini games in Minecraft, but it's just, I guess there's not an easy way to, I guess, monetize it anymore.
Yeah, because it does take a lot of work to work that out if you do through plugins and coding and all of that.
Yeah.
It's just sad, I guess. Well, Mikey, again, that does not surprise me. And I can assure you that's probably not the only event similar like that, maybe not specifically to Spanish-speaking people, but rather other different demographics. So yeah, I don't know. I think nostalgia just makes you yearn for a time that existed, and then at the same time, it's like, even if you were trying to recreate it in some sense, it's never gonna have the same effect, I guess. But that's Minecraft. Amigo.
Sure is. What?
That was me channeling the Minecraft movie, because there was
Yeah,
a
that was
lot of
another
bad
really-
Spanish in it for some
Yeah,
reason.
that was a really weird running joke in the Minecraft movie where they just would say Spanish things that just weren't right. They just kept messing up Spanish phrases and everything like that.
Specifically Jason Momoa.
So yeah, specifically Jason Momoa. But Jack Black did a little bit too. And it was kind of like, why? What's the purpose?
Well, anyways, I know for next week's pod is the 50th episode, so it's gonna be a fun time. Be here if you want to see the past that me and Sarah have lived. Because guess what? I'll give the teaser in the sense of this upcoming pod episode, the 50th episode, we will be doxing ourselves. I won't give any more details than that. But that's what'll be happening.
Doxing.
And yeah. Sarah, are you streaming this Tuesday?
Gonna try.
And I should be still streaming on Wednesday. Hopefully Firewatch. We'll see how far I can get. I have no clue. I kind of want to find the dead body then. Because I'm pretty sure you can find the missing hiker on that poster if you go to like the location he was last seen or something. But we'll see. So yeah.
Oh boy.
We will see y'all next time. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Oh god.